Kevin Purcell for Notebooks.com and GottaBeMobile.com. This is the HP Stream 13. This is HP and Microsoft's answer to the Chromebook, or at least that's the way it's being billed by an awful lot of reviewers and people posting about it online, and I think that's a fair comparison. This is a $229 13-inch Windows 8.1 computer. Notice it has a 13-inch display, a full-size keyboard with a nice roomy trackpad. It runs an Intel Celeron 28, I believe it's the 2820 processor, which is a mobile processor that gives it a lot of battery life. And the computer only has 2 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of storage. More on that in just a minute. Notice over here on the left side where most of the ports sit, we get the Kensington lock. Here's an HDMI output port, a USB 2.0 port. This is a headphone mic combo jack. Here we have a micro SD card slot, and then of course the power indicator light. As I mentioned, this is only a micro SD. It does fit definitely up to 64. I'm not sure if it goes up to 128. I couldn't find a spec for that, and I don't own one to test it out. Now over here on the right side of the computer, we get the power charging port and then 2 USB 3.0 ports, which is kind of nice to have. Along the front, it's clean and simple. There's nothing there. Here's the lid of the computer and the back. There's nothing there except for some Hewlett-Packard HP branding and of course the hinge. Now this hinge is like most computers. It's sturdy and stiff. It will not let you open the computer with just one hand. Notice I have to kind of play with it to get it to do that. One of the things this has as an advantage over other HP Chromebooks, or over some HP Chromebooks, it has a little bit better audio with it. The speakers are here underneath the keyboard. We also get a nice trackpad and a beautiful keyboard. If you have ever seen the HP Chromebook 14 or the HP Slatebook 14, which we also reviewed, then this computer will look very familiar. In fact, HP just kind of borrowed that chassis design with the same keyboard and trackpad, and they put a slightly smaller 13.3-inch screen. Now you can see it flicker on camera a little bit. It's not the best display. That's probably one of the greatest weaknesses. It's a bit dim when you turn it, especially on camera. It's very got a very poor viewing angle. 2 people could maybe use the screen at one time. So if you were on a plane watching a movie or at a client's office, you know, showing them a presentation about your product, something like that, it might work. I've got it set. Let's see what I've got it set the brightness at. Notice I had it set probably about 75% brightness. Put it up to 100% and you get a better view. It's a little bit dim. Most people are testing the battery down here at about 40 to 50%, and they're saying they're getting 9 hours of battery life. I didn't find the computer usable at that level in a brightly lit office or room. It requires probably going up to about 60%. Now there is kind of a matte finish, not really matte finish, but it's not super glossy on the screen, and so it's a little bit better than it would be. Imagine if this had a glossy screen, then you'd have to probably run it at full brightness in order to use it. As I mentioned, it only comes with 32 gigabytes of storage, and that's a real problem for me. If you are a person wanting to run a computer to mainly just get online and run Office, then this is actually a nice computer at only $199 on sale right now at Microsoft's online store. That's a great deal, and you get a decent laptop. And for someone like my wife, who's actually going to be the one using this computer, it's probably a nice option for a second machine. Someone like me who wants to install more software, I need Adobe Photoshop, and I've got a program, a Bible software program, that I can't install on this, or at least it doesn't run acceptably. So I can't use this in my day-to-day work. But if you're just getting online, streaming some videos, doing some office work, and you only have a few programs to install, it's probably a good option for you. People like me who love the idea of Chrome OS, which comes on a Chromebook and basically runs the Chrome browser with web apps, the limitation that you get in not being able to install Windows software or Mac software, for a lot of people isn't a problem, but for me it is, just because of those one or two apps that I must have that I cannot install on a Chromebook. And for that reason, this is a nice alternative. But I can't install those programs because one of those is a very large program and takes up almost 12 gigabytes of space. With the operating system, the recovery partition, and then other software, you don't even have 12 gigabytes on the main storage drive. Because it's an SSD, it does boot fast, so that's a good option. But it also only has 2 gigabytes of RAM, so you can't run more than one or two programs at a time without there being a significant slowdown. I'd say the positives of this, it looks nice. I think it's a very attractive design. As you can see, the keyboard deck area has sort of this darker to lighter color scheme. They come in blue, and then also there's a kind of a maroon purplish color. The keyboard's awesome. The trackpad is decent. The machine feels sturdy. It's a well-built machine. You do get a little bit of push on the lid of the computer. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I don't consider that a problem because I don't sit there and do like this with my computers, but some people find that a problem. But for $200, you can't really complain an awful lot about the build quality. In fact, I would say it's an excellent build quality for that price. And so while I like the speedy boot up, the very nice keyboard, the looks of the machine, and the price, what I don't like is how slow it can get, especially if you're running a lot of software. You can't run more than 2 or 3 things at a time, and the screen is just a real disappointment. Again, you say, well, you can't expect much for $200, but I'd expect a little bit better than this. I think that I'd rather spend maybe $50 more and get a much better display. It's only 1366 by 768, and notice you get a very wide bezel. They could have invested a little more and put a nicer screen on this, a bigger screen, and they'd have a little bit better computer on their hands. This has been Kevin Purcell with the HP Stream 13 Windows 8 notebook computer for Notebooks.com. And if I was to give this my final verdict, I would say that for people with very limited needs of online browsing, office, maybe some streaming of video, it's a good option. For everyone else, it's just not even a consideration if you have to run more powerful software or you run a lot of different apps because of the storage limitation. And of course, remember that the screen is very poor.